Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. Sportsman Gun Centre have sent me another scopes review, and this one is a Nightforce NX8. This is the 2.5 to 20 by 50 F1. This has got 0 stop, milliradian clicks, digital illumination system, and all sorts of different options with the reticles. Now, I will put the link in the description for this scope because there will be various price types for it depending on exactly which setup you want, because the availability varies with different units like minutes, milliradians, things like that. But let's have a look and see what's in the box. We've got the scope, we've got an instruction book, we've got a Nightforce cleaning cloth, we've got a Nightforce tool, we've got a Nightforce sticker. So just pop those to one side. Critical things in the box here. What does it say? Thank you for investing in one of the finest rifle scopes in the world. We're honoured to take you on this journey of the Nightforce family. Please take a few minutes to read the owner's instructions. Pretty much usual stuff. And the warranty. While chances are you'll never need it, your Nightforce is covered by a limited lifetime warranty. Please take a moment to register your rifle scope. You'll find a registration card in the back of your owner's manual. You mail it to us or register online. Those are a very good idea because Nightforce are a very premium optic and well worth keeping up to in those respects. If we look on the bottom of the scope here, it tells us in no uncertain terms made in Japan. That is a statement of the serious precision with which this rifle scope is made and the assurances you get both from the optical and the mechanical functions of it. Looking over it briefly, it's a medium sort of size scope. It's not huge, it's not tiny. So it's kind of what I would call a bit of a crossover scope. It will make a really nice medium range tactical scope on something like an AR-15 or a smaller bolt action rifle. It would also not be out of place on a hunting rifle or a target, varmint rifle, anything like that, as long as you're maybe not going to super distances on super small targets where you would need perhaps higher than 20 times magnification. Because just remember, magnification isn't the only thing that dictates range. It also matters what size targets you're hoping to, engage at those distances, because if you are looking at tiny targets, you do need more magnification. But if you're looking at larger targets, or for example hunting, where you might not be varminting, you might be doing deer stalking, things like that, you don't necessarily need massive amounts of magnification. So lesser magnification gives you that broad field of view. Now this one, although it goes up to 20 power, it also goes down to 2.5 power. Now that means you have got huge field of view. But let's have a look at some of the other features on it. We've got flip up lens caps. These are Tenebrex type lens caps, so they're slightly softer rubbery feel to them, which means they won't go brittle, they won't snap. Now that we can pop that one off the back, because at the back we have got a fast focus eyepiece underneath here. So although it's got a lock ring on it, we can undo that there like that, and that will allow us, you can see fast focus generally applies to the thread pitch on them, so that is moving very quickly depending on the rotation you've got going on there. But once you've got that absolutely set up for your eyesight, pop that open, you can then turn that lock ring, and that is absolutely sealed in position. Now, unlike the Attacker, this one has a separate zoom dial there, so that allows you to scroll through the zoom ratio. Now, being an NX8, that means it's got an 8 times magnification ratio, hence the 2.5 times 8 goes to 20 power. 50mm is the diameter of the objective lens, so that's where your light's coming into, and because it offers you a medium size between the bigger 56s and the smaller 40s, 44s, which tend not to be that common anymore. Now, the Tenebrex cap uses this locking collar here, so you put that on your scope, clamp that in position, that's a polymer unit, and it gives you like a little thing on the back which allows that to snap in position, and it will then rotate wherever you want it to. And of course that's not going to rotate when you change the magnification on the scope, which is something I do like about the NX8 range. Just pop those back down for the minute and protect it. So on the left side here we've got the Digilum system, illuminates the reticle, and we've got side parallax here. There are no markings on it, it goes from short distance up to infinity, so I'll be able to tell you exactly how far that scope ranges from and to, because super short range isn't necessarily going to be needed on centre fires because you're more than likely going to be using low magnification anyway. But were you to be wanting to put this on an air rifle or a rim fire, you would want the super short range parallax capability. These turrets will reset to 0. You've got circumferential grub screws which allow you to turn them around once it's floated after you've actually zeroed it on the rifle, and of course you've got 1 centimetre clicks, and you can feel those clicks. They're audible, they're tactile, and you've got nice grippy turrets here to get hold of them. So looking at the turret, we've got 100 clicks per turn. That's 101 centimetre clicks or 10 milliradians. So that will go around there, and then underneath we've got a vernier style indicator to tell us which rotation we're in. But we'll see more about that when we've actually got it on the rifle and zeroed. The right side here has got a capped dial for windage. That is also working in milliradians. Each click is 10 millimeters at 100 meters, 0.1 milliradian. And of course this scope is with a reticle in the first focal plane, so everything corresponds and matches. If we look there, that will dial all the way around to 5 milliradians left or right of 0. And again, once this is set up on the rifle, we can float that dial, turn it back to 0, so we're never going to get lost with it. The nice markers here which remind you which way to turn it with a Nightforce for up, down, left and right. And of course, looking at the scope, you can see how the turrets and the design of them, it matches throughout, so you get a nice homogeneous look and feel for it. Nightforce sticker, you can pop that wherever you want to. And then we've got the Nightforce lens cleaning cloth. These are kind of usual thing, very handy to have around. And then this is the triangular Nightforce tool, which has got various Allen key heads on it to allow you to set up your scope. It says here, do not discard. And this will likely be a throw lever. So we can take this out of here and put the throw lever in its place. Now, throw levers are very popular on rifle scopes these days. So if I just wind that out, the throw lever will go in its place. Just carefully, it's quite a fine pitch thread. That will go in, nip it into position, pop that very carefully back in the orange envelope, and I'm going to fold that back over and put it back in the box. I'll put the tool back in with it, cleaning cloth, sticker. So that now gives us super fast magnification control. Right, let's have a little look at this reticle. Reticle is in the first focal plane, so that means it will appear to grow and shrink as magnification goes up and down. But of course what that does mean is that regardless of magnification, the actual milliradian hash marks on the reticle correspond exactly with your turret's both elevation and the dial for windage. So you can aim off or dial off with absolute precision. Now that reticle has got quite a lot of information on it, which we'll cover in the full review a bit later on. And of course the Digilum system will light it up. Let's have a little look and see what the battery is for this. So that takes a CR2032 battery, so let's grab one and put it in. Pop that in there between the spring clips. Tighten that back in position. And we've now got the illuminated reticle. I can immediately tell there is no light bleed on that reticle at all. And button presses, both short to change the intensity and then the longer hold to turn it on, turn it off, allow you to make immediate silent control, and it will turn off and turn back on exactly where you left it. There is a lot of information on that reticle, and that's probably covered in the manual. So we'll be able to have a little look here and see exactly what the manual tells us. This goes through all the basic functions and features of the rifle scope, how to set it up, making sure how you know to adjust your zero, stop, elevation, turrets, things like that. I'll cover that when I've actually done it, put it on the rifle, reviewed it, set it up. We've got elements here to do the lock ring, setting the eyepiece focus. We've also got what I've just done there with the throw lever and the actual removable grub screw for that. Tells us about the battery, the Digilum reticle illumination system. The Digilum illumination reticle allows the user to choose between red or green reticle illumination. By pressing the illumination control for about 5 seconds, the colour will change from red to green or green to red. So let's have a little look at the green option because it's in red at the moment. So if I hold that down, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, yep, we've now got it in green. So that is an interesting option. But of course, this is a premium optic, so it's a good green. You're still not getting any light bleed on it. It doesn't kind of have that scattered light bleeding out of it, which is very weak, like some cheaper rifle scopes can do. There is absolutely no tunnelling at all as I go through the zoom range on that. And I'm looking forward to putting that on the rifle. Eye relief would appear to be about 90mm, but let's have a little look in the specification sheet. Battery replacement is covered here, which you just saw me do anyway. It's fairly simple, as you can see, quite intuitive, easy to set up. Riflescope maintenance, cleaning long-term storage, cleaning riflescope lenses, and then we have the dimensions here. So this one is in milliradian specification, so that's the 2.5 to 20 by 50 F1. So looking at the physical dimensions first, overall length is 305mm, which is 12 inches. Objective outer diameter is 59mm, tube diameter is 30mm, eyepiece outer diameter is 43mm. Things like that are kind of useful to know if you're going to be adding a rear night vision or something like that, or maybe a trigger cam, something that you're going to film through the scope. And of course, with the ability to add front thermal as well as front night vision, knowing that overall diameter there is 59mm allows you to order an appropriate collar if that's something you need from your night vision supplier. Mounting length covers the sort of amount of tube space here. Generally speaking, you've got less in front, more to the rear, but that's generally because rifle scopes are quite forward on the rifle to give you the correct eye relief. Now turning attention to the actual optical specifications, exit pupil diameter at 2.5 power is 7.1mm and at 20 power it's 2.5mm. Field of view at 100 yards or 100 meters is 41.8 feet or 13.9 meters at low magnification, and at high magnification that goes down to 7 feet or 2.3 meters. Eye relief critically 88mm, so I was about right on a 90. Eye relief is something that I have a bit of a thing about. Magnum eye relief tends to be great for magnum sized rifles, but you don't really generally need it on most rifles. 90mm, 88mm, as is the case here, tends to give you a little bit more freedom and flexibility, and it makes what I call the eye box, which is essentially the minimum and maximum you can be out of position on that eye relief while still having the full field of view without any vignettes. Going down to about 90mm tends to give you a more flexible freedom in that respect, and extra length of eye relief. Parallax adjustment actually does say here it's 11 yards to infinity, which is 10 meters. Weight 28.3 ounces, 802 grams. Okay, internal mechanical adjustment. If you go for the minutes of angle version, you get 110 minutes of angle elevation and 80 minutes of angle windage. If you go for the milliradians version, which we've got here, is 32 milliradians elevation, 23 milliradians windage. That is going to give us a lot of travel. Another thing to remember is that the higher the magnification of the scope, generally you tend to get fractionally less overall elevation adjustment when like is for like, because the length of the tube within there is what's being tipped up and down. And of course, the longer that tube is, the less it can move through an angular displacement to give you that elevation travel. So having the sort of intermediate magnification like this, 2.5 to 20, does mean that you are getting a bit more elevation travel. So if you're not engaging super small targets, that's another advantage to going 2.5 to 20 on the NX8. Click value, as we said, if you go for the minutes of angle version, we've got quarter MOA. On this one, we've got 0.1 milliradian, which is 10mm at 100 meters. Now, as I've said already, this reticle is in the first focal plane, but there is an option with this scope to have a second focal plane set up if that's your preference. Personally, I like first focal plane, but different people prefer different things. Now, there is actually a fractional weight difference between the first and second focal plane option, but it's literally singular grams. Now, if we move up onto the 40-32 power scope, which again is 8 times the rector tube, 4 times 8 is 32, that is an exact illustration there how we get slightly less elevation travel. So we're looking at 32 milliradians versus 26 milliradians. So again, a bit of information, a bit of detail to just back up what I just said there to you before. So finishing up in the manual, we've got details about the limited lifetime warranty. So it's time to put this on a rifle and take it shooting. Now I can tell from the setup, the way it's laid out, the controls, the ergonomics of it, I am not going to have an issue with this scope. Frankly, Nightforce is a well-proven optic. The Japanese standards are superb, and you can feel it in things like the zoom control here. That smoothly rotates with no interruption at all, and there is no perception, either audibly or mechanically, of all those helical grooves and erector tubes moving around inside, changing what's going on. The only time you can feel that erector tube effectively being moved is when you're dialing the turrets like this. Eye relief looked good at 88mm, that's going to work perfectly on the rifle, and I've got plenty of mounting space with 30mm rings. So let's take it shooting. Well, I've been out shooting with the Riflescope. Generally, it was a pleasure to use, no problems at all. So, started out, I used them Element Optic scope rings. These are Picatinny low. Now, 50mm objective lens, yes, it's low, but there's also a Picatinny rail on this, which gives you a little bit of height too. So, different rifles need different mounts. I would generally say they'll probably need a medium if you've got bases actually on the action itself. But as I say, different rifles, slightly different. It did give me a really nice position on the gun. I could keep in low to the cheek piece and align straight through it. The Tenebrex style scope caps, as always, are perfect. They're sprung loaded, so they flip up perfectly. And of course, being a bit rubbery, they're a bit more durable, quite tough, and you're not going to break them quite as easily. Now, I'm just going to take that bolt out of there just for the moment. So, flip those up, no problems with eye relief. Now, as I said, the 88mm of eye relief meant it was versatile to use. Shooting from the bench was fine, shooting from prone was absolutely fine. I had no problems accessing the full eye box and the vignette-free field of view. And that throw lever makes it so quick and easy to do. And of course, on an NX8 with an 8x erector tube or 8x zoom ratio, you've got that bottom end 2.5x magnification to get quickly on target before, if you need to, zoom up with speed to make sure you can take those shots with great precision. The reticle, of course, matches the click values perfectly throughout, so you can aim off or dial off the joys of the first focal plane. And these turrets are a great combination of fast, easy access without being too bulky, and they are easy to set up. Now, the triangular key that Nightforce supply for setting up the turrets is extremely simple. Once you've zeroed it, just loosen off the 2 circumferential screws with the largest of the 3 Allen keys, and that will just lift off the top. To set the zero stop, you slacken off these 4 screws here. You probably only need about half a turn on each one. This is all covered in the instruction book, but you just loosen them off like that. So all you have to do is turn that all the way clockwise until it stops, and that will give you a precise zero stop at your zero distance. Now, if you want to, you can just move back a little bit, and that will then give you some negative travel. But you just retension these 4 screws. Be careful it doesn't rotate when you're in this position, but nothing will move inside the scope unless you hear it click, which is always useful. And then pop this back down here and tension it back in place. You can actually feel when you're doing that how tight the O-ring seals are, because it's airtight and you almost feels like you're compressing a slight spring squeezing that down. Align it with zero and tighten these back up. And it shows here you've got your zero, and then I've got 10 clicks below zero just in case I want any negative travel. From that point, from 100 meter zero I had here, I have 10, 15.5 milliradians of elevation travel really, and this is a 223 wild, so it's not a super long range rifle anyway, and that certainly gives me all the capability for distance I need for medium range target shooting or any kind of varminting I want to do. The parallax control dial on the side is very smooth. You don't feel internal mechanical motion at all, and it brings you into a lovely crisp parallax free image. The button on the center does all the controls for turning the illumination on and off. 3-second hold to turn on, 3-second hold to turn off. If you go for a 5-second hold, that will swap the color between red and green on the reticle. Red shows better in most scenarios with more contrast, but green will certainly suit some people and some shooters. I've pictured both on screen, but it wasn't as easy to see the green even at full intensity. Intensity control is again short presses, and the reticle will flash 3 times when you get to either the top or the bottom, and that will then go back in the opposite direction. It will turn off, turn back on exactly where you left it, and it's a really nice reticle to use. There's no light bleed at all, and it gives you enough intensity, certainly with the red on, in full daylight. We had quite strong daylight today to get a good target picture. So, to sum it up, the NX8 is exactly what it markets itself to be. It is a premium optic, sort of mid to high level price point on the market, but I think it certainly delivers everything it promises. It doesn't, excessively give you complicated turrets that you don't need. It does exactly what you do need in a simple fashion. I actually set it up when I was out today shooting, which I don't normally do. I usually do those back in the workshop, but actually it was very simple to do. There's no parts to lose, so you get the tool with it, so it's actually really quite straightforward. Again, setting up windage is exactly the same. Once you've got your 0 set up, just loosen off the circumferential grub screws, dial it back to 0 to indicate it, and then tighten them back in place before you put the cap back on. All the clicks are tactile, they're repeatable, it tracked perfectly, and it met my realistically proven in the past data for longer range targets. It was very windy today, so I did appreciate the ability to be able to aim off and dial off with the first focal plane reticle exactly to get the shots I needed. And with the targets themselves, as you can see on camera, dancing around a little bit in the wind, it was great fun shooting. And it's really nice to be able to go out shooting on a day like today with full confidence in the kit you're using. I think the scope matches this rifle perfectly, but it would also be great on a precision AR-15 because that compact build really will suit a lot of rifles. And again, combined with the 88mm viral leaf, you're not left with an overbearingly large scope. So you can get all that long-range dialing capability, parallax control, illumination, first focal plane, all those modern buzzwords and things we like to use, actually applied with a sporting rifle or a varmint rifle without excessive bulk to carry. Right, I hope you've enjoyed that review. Please like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell, and keep track of the regular uploads. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.